A very good afternoon to all the viewers. Welcome back to another episode of BW People HR Voices. Today we have with us Ms. Shilpa Vaid, the CHRO of Diageo India. She's responsible for enabling sustainable business growth by building talent and organizational capabilities, delivering superior employee experience and an advantaged and exclusive culture. Shilpa's experience spans across several industries, including the financial services, retail, e-commerce, as well as FMCG. She's also held senior leadership roles at MetLife, Bharti AXA General Insurance, Prion, and its subsidiaries Cloudtail. Prior to joining Diageo, Shilpa has served as the people lead for Mondelez India. Firstly, welcome Shilpa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Savi. Pleasure to be here and great to meet you.
Same here. So today's topic for discussion is going to be the forward-looking policies and initiatives for women at workplace. We're seeing that so many progressive initiatives are coming up today. The technology is advancing every day. With this, we really need to have some forward-looking policies, especially for women. So Shilpa, I would like to ask you initially, how do you envision a returnship program for women? The women who take a career break due to some personal reasons and they come back after maybe like a year or 2 years. How do you envision a returnship program for them? How do you make sure that they are upskilled and they are up to date with whatever is happening in the industry?
Great. A good question to start with, Savi, and so pertinent right now, especially with so many women who might have taken a career break during COVID and post that started resuming work. So first and foremost, I want to, start by talking about Diageo and building an inclusive culture, nurturing an inclusive culture is one of the most distinctive things about Diageo as an organization globally and in India. And in Diageo, we are committed to creating the most inclusive and diverse culture as well as shaping market-leading policies and practices. And we don't do it just because it's the right thing to do, but also because it helps our business to grow. And this is underpinned by our purpose, which is celebrating life every day, everywhere. As we go through a conversation, you'll realize that at Diageo, we don't just champion inclusion and diversity for us as an organization, but also our entire value chain within the communities that we are a part of, the suppliers that we work with, and the industry at large. So in India, we have a program called Creative Comeback. Actually, it's prevalent also in our New York and London offices, where we celebrate female and binary creative talent who are coming back into the workforce for post a career break. And sometimes, they might find it difficult to find jobs or roles that value their experience and they don't feel like they're making a compromise, which can be especially true of women. This program is in India first and in India CPG first. The most important thing that we keep in mind, and we believe most organizations do as well, is that we provide the women who are returning to work the right environment, the right tools, the right resources, and most importantly, the right support system, which helps ease their transition back to work. I'm very proud to share that in Diageo India, we have something called the Spirited Women's Network, SWN, as it's popularly known. It's an employee resource group that helps us inspire and provide a safe space to women, where you can talk without fear of judgment, right, about your experiences, what challenges you face in the workplace or in your personal life, seek advice and support from peers and like-minded people, talk to mentors about how they've overcome barriers. This is a self-organized group. They come together, they talk about things that are important. They also advocate what changes they would like to see in the organization at large. And, how we can make Diageo an even more inclusive organization for all its employees, not just women.
Right. It's lovely to know. So Shilpa, I want to ask you, what about the leadership roles? The women who are coming back after a career break, are they getting equal opportunities in terms of the succession planning that's happening at the organization, or do they halt back? And not only for women who are taking a career break, also in general, are you seeing women representation increasing at the organization at board level as well as in leadership roles?
Again, great question, Savi. And, I'm supremely proud to be part of an organization where Hina Nagarajan, our MD and CEO, is a woman, right? It was a first in the alcobev industry. And I know that the media was abuzz when she took over the role. I wasn't even in Diageo, but I read about it and I felt proud, right? Even today, 50% of our executive committee are women, and about 33 to 35% of our senior leadership colleagues in the workplace in Diageo India are women. Overall, I think we're about 27% women representation, and we want to get it closer to 33 and 35 over the next couple of years. Our board of directors, 3 of them are women. So as you look at these metrics, I feel very confident that Diageo's taking all the right actions and has the right representation of women across levels. But I don't think our job ends here. We at Diageo, we'd love to be shaping the broader industry behavior and narrative around women representation. How is it that we can make Alcobev as an industry more welcoming of female talent? How is it that we can have an atmosphere and environment which is conducive for our employees and employees of our peer group companies, for them to feel comfortable in the workplace? Is there more we can do? Yes. There are many facets that organizations need to consider, and we consider as well. We pay a lot of focus to ensuring that we are getting the right influx of women talent across levels. You then have to pay a lot of attention to making sure that you're developing them and they're ready for roles when they become available. You also have to be able to provide the right sort of support at critical inflection points and junctures in their career where they need to make choices, whether they need to, prioritize. And our whole narrative, Savi, is built around that. It's built around saying that we are an equal, we pay equal emphasis to not just our male and not just our female colleagues, but also our male colleagues, putting the right attention to their personal lives. So as an example, in terms of how we shape the narrative, we give equal parental leave, right? And it's utilized by both our male and female colleagues.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing these statistics of your organization. So you spoke about promoting gender equality at your organization, right? So we believe that the role of men employees in today's scenario, they act as an ally for promoting gender equality, right? So what, according to you, could be some innovative awareness campaigns or, let's say, training methods to encourage men to actively support equality at the organization?
We have a very active male ally community within the organization. So I spoke about the Spirited Women's Network, Savi. Within Diageo India, our male allies are engaged with the Spirited Women's Network, and they can contribute very passionately towards creating a working environment, which is where everyone flourishes, right? Not just women. Symbolically, it's so important for our women colleagues also to feel that their male leaders, their male peers are committed to this cause of making Diageo India a better place for everyone to thrive in and to grow. We are constantly trying and encouraging and inspiring our male allies to equally partner and contribute towards promoting gender equality. Some of the things that we do, and I believe other companies can also focus on, is how can we get senior male leaders to mentor and sponsor female employees who are at inflection points in their career? How can they help them find the right unlocks through the right advice, through the right inputs, but also in sponsoring them in conversations where talent is getting discussed and you need people to showcase a female colleague's strengths and interests. I was talking about equal parenting guidelines. You can control the narrative you have as an organization, the tone that the culture has by offering flexible work policies and guidelines that promote equal parenting. It then doesn't put the onus only on female employees, right? That they're getting a privilege, that they're getting a benefit that's not extended to male colleagues. And it again changes the whole narrative around equal parenting and the fact that this is an organization that puts a premium on personal lives of colleagues from every gender and background. We collaborate on I&D initiatives with our male colleagues and leaders. We ask them to sponsor it, we ask them to chair it, participate it. And equally importantly, we recognize and celebrate the male allies who contribute to this cause.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So you've mentioned that you also have policies in place for parental support, especially for men as well, which is great because today in the industry, we are seeing so many organizations, they're also allowing and framing these policies around for adoptive parents as well as for single parents, even for male single parents, right? Apart from that, we're also seeing organizations framing policies for menstruation of women, right? They're getting leaves for this, which is very important, which is progressive in nature, right? So what are your views on this and any other such innovative policies that Diageo has in place?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Happy to talk about it, Savi. So you're right, more and more companies, and it's about time, are now coming up with forward-looking policies that not just promote equal parenting, but also address different challenges that all of us as individuals face, right, in balancing work, health, personal and professional priorities. And as I said before, at Diageo, our aim is to build an inclusive culture where our employees feel safe, they can contribute to their fullest and thrive. All our policies and guidelines revolve around giving everyone the right and equal opportunity to thrive. We definitely have some industry leading guidelines that have been inspired and shaped by how some of the other organizations look at equality. For example, as I mentioned, we have a 26-week family leave policy, irrespective of gender, sexual orientation. This encompasses adoption, biological conception. The family leave policy is yet another step by Diageo India in fulfilling its ambition of supporting gender equality and creating a fully inclusive and diverse workforce. I personally feel so proud when I see some of our male colleagues go on LinkedIn and post that they've taken 6 months off, right, to take care of their child or their newborn and sharing this responsibility with their wives. It's just, you can see that the attempt that you're trying to make to shape the culture and the narrative is actually getting utilized and making a positive impact. We have pregnancy loss guidelines. In the unfortunate scenarios where expecting mothers go through this, they can take up to 26 weeks, and their partners, 10, or if their partners go through this, then 10 days of paid leave support in case of pregnancy loss. Globally, we've also got Thriving Through Menopause. These are guidelines to raise awareness and understanding on menopause, which is often a taboo subject. And if not taboo, it's not widely understood, what women go through at a certain juncture in their life. It's an uncomfortable topic. And our intent is that as a company, we will provide resources to employees and managers who may be experiencing menopause directly or indirectly. These guidelines build their understanding of how menopause impacts women in the workplace and their personal lives, as well as providing them with strengthened support and flexibility during a challenging time for women in their professional careers and personal lives. Our wellness policy, if I can talk about that, Savi, we provide the insurance benefits for the same sex and live-in partners. It includes medical benefits, fertility treatment for all employees, and this policy also includes gender reassignment surgery for all employees. So a lot of these are forward-looking, policies. They are progressive. They are market-leading. The proof of the pudding lies in utilization, and we drive a lot of focus in our employees understanding the benefits that we offer and then utilizing them.
Right. I completely agree with you. I think men's sensitization towards what women are facing generally and what kind of challenges they face at workplace is very important. So I want to go a little off track and talk about the term microaggression. So microaggression as a term is subtle forms of discrimination or let's say biases that occur against women at work. So how do you address such challenges and what are some of the situations that you have gone through personally at the organization and how have you overcome those?
So let me, microaggression can take multiple forms, right? Sometimes it can be you sitting in a meeting and getting ignored. And I don't think it's always only related to gender, right? It could also be because you come from a different regional background. It could be language barriers. When I started my career in consulting, Savi, I worked with public organization where, and this was way back in 99, so you can imagine the environment was very different. And I remember, meeting the clients, and even though I would ask the question, the response would be given to my male colleague who was accompanying me for the meeting. Starting with small things like this to, joining an organization where I was the first woman in the leadership team ever, finding your place in it, finding your place in it, helping others understand even how to sort of engage with you. And it's not to ask for preferential treatment, but to be treated as an equal, right? And so it's been a journey. I mean, I think I've gone through my share of microaggressions, and I found what works best for me to call out bad behavior or behavior that makes me feel uncomfortable or marginalized. Everyone finds their own coping mechanism, Savi, and the only thing that I would encourage anybody to do, and not just women, right, is to speak up, to not become comfortable with discomfort.
Right.
And when it comes to Diageo, we believe that microaggressions require a multifaceted approach. You have to educate people, you have to have the right policies, you have to have open communication, and most importantly, you have to focus on having the right culture. It's a journey that requires effort from everybody. All employees need to be committed to it. The leadership team needs to role model the behaviors, and of course, the HR team needs to enable that journey. Recognizing that addressing microaggressions is a part of our broader effort to change the organization culture is why we put a lot of effort in it. We believe that if we have to build an inclusive workplace for everyone, then this is not something that can be tolerated. And sometimes it's also about making people aware. They might not even know that what they're doing or committing, if I can use that word, is a microaggression or a similar behavior. So we follow a proactive approach at Diageo to address issues related to discrimination and biases. We have programs that explain the kind of biases that people go through. We have been focusing on setting a strong example through our leaders, modeling inclusive behavior and language, and demonstrating how to address microaggressions in a respectful and constructive manner. We hold all our leaders and managers accountable for creating inclusive teams and addressing microaggressions when they occur. We run regular sensitization programs to create awareness and help people understand and overcome unconscious biases as well. This sensitization has to run through the entire employee life cycle, right? When you join an organization, the onboarding and assimilation needs to call out that our inclusive culture is what we put a premium on, and what is welcome and what is not tolerated and what is non-negotiable. We continue to then reinforce these sensitization sessions for our leaders, for our people managers, for our employees across the board, with help from external subject matter experts and internal leaders as well. So reinforcement is important, Savi, and I think as and when incidents come to light, taking visible, quick, and decisive action is equally important.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Shilpa, for sharing your personal instances on this. I think most of our viewers who are employees themselves, they will take a lot of inspiration and will take a stand against any such situation that they go through at their organization. So when we talk about forward-looking or progressive policies, we cannot leave out the anti-harassment policies at work. Right? How do you think, what impact do the current policies, anti-harassment policies, or the POSH framework that we have at workplace, what is the impact for both men and women? And do you think more, let's say, more features could be added to the policy? How could it be better than how it is currently? And apart from that, my second part of the question is, what could be some anonymous reporting mechanisms or feedback channels that make sure that the employees feel safe in sharing such instances with the leaders?
So our laws require us to have these anti-harassment policies, Savi and Diageo. like other organizations. And, I think even Indian companies at large now have policies that are at par with other global companies. We have strong reporting mechanisms that encourage employees to actively speak up if they see violation and non-compliance. We provide guidance prior to reporting. We provide confidential reporting channels which are accessible, reliable, and guarantee anonymity. At Diageo India, for example, we have something called Speak Up, which is a confidential mechanism for raising concerns on compliances, ethics, as well as other forms of harassment. We have a response system which is timely. We use independent investigators when necessary. So there's a lot of mechanisms that have been institutionalized by Diageo, and I'm sure other organizations have the similar mechanisms. Companies now partner with external partners to do sensitization programs, especially for cohorts in the workforce that could be subject to this more often. Companies, when you have conferences, I know that leaders talk about the importance of compliance and again reinforce the zero tolerance that exists within the organization for such incidents. And all of these act as deterrents, to some extent. But if I were to take a step back, what is it that we can do more of? It's, the question that you asked earlier, right? It is about your mindset. It is about the culture that exists. It is about sensitization. So providing a redressal mechanism is important. Providing anonymity is important. But our ambition should be to create an environment where, people respect the culture of inclusion, where such instances are minimized, where everybody is aware of the implications, and of such an act. And equally, all our colleagues, male and female colleagues, feel comfortable expressing their discomfort or, basically, their discomfort with such an act or behavior towards even their senior colleagues in the organization. So I believe anonymity is important, but I'd much prefer to see a setup where people feel comfortable talking about this openly, right? Because anonymity sometimes is something that you fall back on because you're concerned about retaliation.
Right. So you very rightly said that even though these frameworks need to be strengthened, it's even more important for leaders to create an environment where such incidents are reduced and they don't happen, right? So Shilpa, any last piece of advice for our viewers, which are they are mostly HR leaders, they're employers as well as employees? What would be your last piece of advice for them?
So not as much advice, Savi, as a reflection. We all talk about, all organizations now are talking about diversity and inclusion. And a lot of the focus does tend to be on gender representation. One of the things that I have told myself, or I've learned in these last few years, is if you build an inclusive organization, it'll be easier to protect your diversity. So focus on building an inclusive organization first, where everyone from every background and we embrace diversity in the broadest possible sense, including gender, ethnicity, ability, age, sexual orientation, social class, education, experience, etc. So a culture which is inclusive will embrace diversity, and diversity will thrive. So we have to focus on getting the inclusivity of our culture right first. The second is we have to stop referring to our women and female colleagues as diversity hires. It minimizes and sometimes trivializes, their contributions, their abilities, and what they bring to the table. it then becomes a tagline with which they're associated. And more often than not, or in fact, I would say always possibly, we as women colleagues make it to certain roles because of our abilities and contributions. And we have to be very careful about the language that we use. I think the third reflection would be that don't think of this as an HR agenda and an HR problem to solve. Invite participation from everyone across the organizations, leaders, employees themselves. And an organization which is a great organization for women is usually a great organization for everyone. So just get more broad-based participation and invite ideas on how you can build a stronger and more inclusive culture. So that's all I had, Savi.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. Thank you for joining us and giving us your time and sharing such great takeaways that the viewers are going to take from this video. Thank you once again for being here with us.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Savi.